Over the course of my 15 years on hotshot crews, and again, as I mentioned, I had the privilege, I should say, as a crewman, as a squad boss, as a sawyer, as a foreman, and as a soup. So different perspectives and different stories, I should say. But I would have to say one of the best assignments would have to probably been in 2003. There was a fire down in Southern California called the Cedar Fire, a rather large fire. It was probably to the closest thing that I've been in where it would relate to sheer chaos in Southern California. I mean, there was not a whole lot of command and control when we first arrived on scene, and there was multiple fires going on in Southern California at the time. The Grand Prix, the Old Fire, and a few other ones, but we were assigned the Cedar Fire, and the longest shift I ever worked. We were pushing 60 hours straight. We 2 to 1. We were kind of really pushing the boundaries on 2 to 1. We bedded down when we could. Made sure the guys got adequate rest. But when they continually call in on the radio, we need additional resources. And it was, in my opinion, there was probably a lot of independent action going on. And my job was to take care of the crew and be able to provide a resource to Southern California, and which we did. And it was literally nonstop for about 50 hours straight. And it was quite challenging. The crew did a hell of a job. Nobody got hurt. A couple bumps and bruises, but that happens. And we were down there for 18, 19 days or something like that. And probably out of those days, we were cutting hotline every day for about the first 10 days before things started really calming down. So overall, that whole 2003 fire season and that wind event that occurred, working with other crews, and that was the thing. What made it so challenging? Every crew down there was doing the same thing we were. You can talk to them after the fact, during the fact. They were all similar stories. 50 hours up, burning out around houses, burning, just to keep the fire out of houses. And then just walking away and going to the next house, and then you save some and you lose some, and we went back in the aftermath to see some of the results of our backfiring did, and some of them didn't work. I know for a fact there was a lot of homes that we couldn't save, and that happens, and pretty emotional, for the crew. They were beat up. I was beat up. I could remember. And for my role as a superintendent, my role was the well-being of the crew. And, during those 18, 19 days, I didn't do a lot of hiking. I didn't do a lot of swinging a tool. I was, did my role as superintendent, the oversight of the crew. But that was probably the most exhausted I've ever been in my life. Just the sheer management of the crew, staying up, not a lot of physical work. But I do remember, as exhausted as I was, probably the most I've ever been to date. Even when I was a sawyer, even when I was, a lead P and such. But I do remember setting up my tent in fire camp, not quite getting it all the way up, and just falling asleep before I could get it up. And that's when I woke up. When I was awoken by some guy in the tents collapsed around me, making sure I'm all right. But it was just, I just couldn't. Laid down, started puffing up my 6-second tent, and quite didn't get all the way up before I fell asleep. So that kind of explained how exhausted I was, and I know the crew was about the same condition.